Happy World Fencing Day. And welcome to my channel. Today is September 12th, 2020, or year 1 AC, depending on how you calculate your time now. And today I want to talk about the love of my life, fencing. Originally the plan was just to talk about why I love fencing, but then I thought it would be a better idea to talk to the community, so I decided to ask Reddit, fencing Reddit specifically, about why they love fencing. For reference, Fencing Reddit is a pretty cool place. It's 23,000 people strong, and sometimes you get some really cool conversations. It all depends on the day. Sometimes it's questions about how you should do things, and other times it's actually in-depth subjects. So to celebrate our wonderful sport, I'm going to read through the comments that I got that encapsulate why we love this sport so much. Then I'm going to give you why I love it, and then we're going to end on the best comment that I got from the Reddit post altogether. So to begin, we're going to start with the first comment I got pretty soon after I made the post, which was, I like poking people before they poke me. Yeah, that's... And my response to this is the same thing I put in the actual Reddit post, which was, this is the primal yet most compelling reason, yes. There is nothing better than stabbing someone before they hit you. Yeah, that sounds a little dark. Nothing feels better than getting the point right before someone thinks they're about to get it. It's like you're stealing it from them. Yeah, we're going to go with that. We're going to go with that. Our next comment is, I don't love fencing, I love saber fencing, with a smiley face. It isn't exactly in line with what do you love about fencing, but I do love his vigor for his own weapon, and I will give him that. I will not start the debate that usually happens when people say their weapon is better than the other. We'll leave it there. Okay, so I'm in 2 comments deep, and I'm realizing I'm going through the funny ones first. So with that in mind, we're going to go with this one. The comment, because every fencer is unique like a beautiful snowflake, and it's your job to smash them. Honestly, if you're not a fencer, this might sound a little aggressive, but when you're about to get onto the pist to start a match, your mentality is to smash the other person. You want to dominate that match. So as graphic as it may be, this is pretty accurate to why people would love the sport. Our next slightly humorous comment is, giving rich kids some nice purple bruises. Another slightly aggressive one. Now, before we had an elitist of a weapon, saber, and now we have an elitist, we're going to call him a painter, or him or her a painter. I'm going to preface this that maybe not giving all rich kids purple bruises, but maybe the entitled one, because I will say that when you have an entitled rich kid fencing you, it is just the perfect environment to just start wanting to win even more. We're going to call this winning, not bruising. You guys are making us come off as sadists here. You gotta calm these comments. Okay, so we've now exited the funny zone and we're entering more serious territory. This person said, the reason I started is because it looked cool. The reason I stayed was because the fencers are generally awesome people. Also, there's nothing like the feeling of perfectly executing a defense or an attack. When strategy and muscle memory work together perfectly, it's an incredible feeling. And to that, I just have to agree. When you work on something so much and then you enter a match and it ends up working exactly how you want it to, like you think it in your head and then you execute it with your body, both parts work together, nothing can compare to that. It's something that you work towards, and once you start doing it more and more and more, it lifts you up. The next person said, I love the mental side of fencing, especially epee and saber. How 2 high-level fencers, who are technically and physically on top, must win in a game where milliseconds make the difference. Yeah, no, this is one of the best things about watching at least fencing or doing it, is that at a certain point, when you guys are so close in skill and stuff, the little things make the difference. When you watch something like swimming or racing or like running, those milliseconds make the huge difference in the score. The same thing happens in fencing, except instead of counting it, you see it by who gets the point, and it's a great thing to do and watch. Okay, apparently I missed a funny one before. This person said, for me, it's the novelty of experiencing in full speed one of the most interesting and impressive ways that humans have ever decided to kill each other, which to me is completely accurate as well because um, swords above any other weapon in my mind. There's no comparison for me. So I agree. I agree. Our next lovely commenter said, "I've always liked understanding people and their actions. Other than being a sporty kid growing up, I feel it's extremely rewarding, especially in Saber, when you're able to anticipate an opponent's attack by analyzing them and noticing their body language and successfully countering them." That's a lot of ands. Not only isn't what? Okay. Not only isn't isn't it a physical game, but also a mental game of rock paper scissors, which is what makes it an interesting game to me. I filled in some blanks there, but I know what you're saying. And yeah, no, the ability to observe your opponents, analyze them, and make a mental image of how it should go, like the previous comment, is one of the best things about the sport. Like a lot of people call it like mental chess or no physical chess, and this is one of those things that highlight that aspect. The next commenter said, "There are so many variables that can make each individual fencer incredibly strong. Tall and athletic? Great. Incredible stamina and agility? Super. Fantastic mental fortitude and tactics slash mental game? Awesome. All three of these could go toe to toe with each other. Like, what sport offers such diversity and combinations? It is such an it is such an expressive sport. It's boxing, dancing, and chess all in one. And I think this person hit a lot of things on like hit a lot of really good points here. The variety of types of fencers is immense. You could have one that specializes in one thing and one specializes in another, and they meet up, and you have to think whose specialization will push them ahead, or they just it just becomes a duel of who can do their thing better. It's a really cool part of the sport that who you are can come through in your fencing immensely. All right, so we're entering the deep zone, the zone of depth. So the comment is, my dad was a mega athlete all throughout his high school and college, and my mom is a yoga teacher. So when their only son turned out to be a total book nerd, they were a little disappointed. Growing up, both my parents pushed me to try all kinds of sports. Soccer, basketball, baseball, and swimming are some of the ones that stick out the most in my mind. And remember especially hating soccer and basketball. I'm going to cut in here. This is the middle. But I get that because when I was doing sports before fencing, I hated sports where I had to chase an object. I don't understand chasing an object. Like in my mind, it's not fun to chase a ball. It doesn't. I can watch it, but doing it brings me no pleasure. So to continue, I was never a great. I was never great at handling balls or working with a team of people. And I always felt bad about myself because people expected me to be good at sports simply because I was very tall for the country I lived in growing up. Fair enough. I wanted to give up on athletics until my aunt, whatever you say, who works with a large French sports committee, suggested to my mom that I try fencing. I fell in love with the sport as soon as I tried it, and I poured my heart out into training, and I've gone way, 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 way farther with fencing than I would have with any other sport that I had done before. I paraphrase there. I love fencing because it is as much about the mind as the body, and because I challenge myself to continue and improve. I don't know why I didn't breathe properly during that, but that is a great story. I completely get it. I did a lot of sports before I got to fencing, and none of them gripped me nearly as much. You said you were a book nerd. I was a book nerd and a video game nerd. So just being able to use a sword was a instant win when it came to picking a sport. All right, so we got another big one here. This is gonna be in a few parts. I'm gonna work on the breathing this time. Right now, I'm 17, started at 13, so a little late by most standards, and I wish I started earlier. But fencing is something that I definitely can say is the only sport that makes me genuinely happy to be a part of. I fence epee, but would love to try the others as well. It started back at a program to teach kids and adults how to fence. I got into epee at the time and found that it was just simply fun. The coach was great, the people were great, and I had fun. Over the course of 2 years, I attended those lessons for beginners. I enjoyed and eventually started to love fencing even more. I would always look forward to fencing. I'm an introvert, but the people I met at the lessons never made things hard to say. Yeah. I joined the club in my region. No. I joined the club in my region run by the same coach and fell in love with the sport again. I wouldn't stop fencing until the other fencer was tired. The moment the bout ended, I would start another one. I would feel my legs would give out and yet never felt better in my life. That's really heartfelt. I have to scroll 1 sec. I'm more I'm one of the more unfit people at 200 pounds 5'5", still quite a bit muscular thanks to my frequent push-ups, and I have asthma, but from start to finish, I never stop. I can easily say that no one can match my stamina while fencing. I am driven by the sport, by the thrill, and by the adrenaline. I love the sport, I love the practice, I love everything about it. This sport is something I cannot see myself without, and I feel like it's a key part of my life that I'll never let go of. I feel that on a very deep level. Um, Breathe. But the sport wasn't the only great thing. The people are awesome too. Everyone at the club show me the best of people I've seen. I swear I've never met better people. The older fencers, or people that have been fencing for a bit longer than me, frequently fence me because I think they see my drive and I love the constant challenge. That's super important when you fence, to have people around you that push you. The need to learn has never been as bright as when I'm fencing. I constantly strive to improve. The sport makes me feel alive and makes my life feel as if there's a reason to keep pushing for success. Every time I fence, I feel alive. I feel like life can go anywhere and I can do anything. I mean, I'm really happy that someone feels that way about fencing and that gives that to them. That's what your sport or anything that you do should do for you. It should be a pleasure. And I think this person really highlighted how that how the sport does that for them, and I'm happy for you. I'm genuinely happy for you. All right, attempt number like 5. Next question. Started when my father forbade American football, so my classmates brought me to their club. High school only had football, basketball, and fencing. Being smaller than the average bear, collegiate freshman varsity, and continued as I moved through the states and internationally. Began self-reffing, then rated when our division required it, continuing nationally. Yeah. Now, the older fencer against whom I competed as a beginner, and he's still giving lessons. Giving back as those did before me did, but admittedly fun to beat younger fencers, especially those who smirk at the bout start. And now there's beer. So many friendships, competing against / reffing kids who become Olympians and their kids. Co-reffing with my high school coach in his last year alive, and with my high school ref / later Olympian. Fencing one family's 3 generations, achieving my highest classification, losing it, regaining it in 3 times. I think this is only something equestrians can do. Okay, I'm now realizing this is more like of a list than like a flow of sentences. Yeah, no, all these things that he or she has put up is true. Like the amount of generations in fencing, the amount of things you can do, it's great. But yeah, no, what this guy said about continuing through the sport over time and just seeing as time passes by, some people become Olympians, some of their kids start fencing a generation of fencers, all that like community based stuff, and all that's a great part of it too. You can't deny the fact that when you're in it, seeing all the parts and how many people it affects and brings together, it's a great feeling. Also, on the note of like when you work with someone or you fence with someone and then you see them become a very high class fencer or Olympian, that's something that it's cool to see, like someone that you saw learning around the same time as you reaching the top. It's a really cool feeling. Those are all the comments that came up except for the last one, the monologue that I'm going to read. But before that, I'll say my 2 cents about why I love fencing. Personally, when I got into fencing, I was playing Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, and I went to my mom and I told her that I wanted to use a sword, and then she showed me the Olympics, and then I went into my first lesson, and then I fell in love with it. Absolutely fell in love with it. Like I said before, like chasing objects wasn't my thing. Being timed wasn't my thing. I was a big kid, and I'm always been a bigger person. So fencing was able to give me activity that was mentally stimulating, and physically stimulating, and hit all my nerdy points because I love reading fantasy and I love playing games with swords. So I could never let it go. It when I fence, I know where I'm at mentally throughout my whole life because as an emotional kid, I would give into anger a lot when I fence, and you can't do that. You give into anger, you automatically lose. So having the sport made me look at life and how I act in a very different way, and made me mature probably way faster than I would have. Because if you don't mature in fencing, you're just gonna lose. You could be the top physical specimen, but if your head is gone because you're either emotions or you just can't see what's happening, then you lose. So the fact that fencing is an all-encompassing sport where if one thing's thrown out of balance, you'll recognize it because you'll lose is something I love. The fact that it's so well-rounded and it reflects my life as I do it, it's amazing. Are you ready for Fencing's Shakespeare? Because this person wrote a lot and it's deep and it's important, and I think it's amazing, frankly. So we're gonna read this. This was written by, I haven't said other people's name, but I'm gonna say this person's name. Toon Squad Forever. I don't know why Toon Squad. I'm assuming that you love or you have a squad of Toon Link, Toon Relinquish, and maybe Mickey Mouse at your side, and that's your squad. If that's the case, that's a dangerous squad, and I think we should get into your comment. All right, so Toon Squad Forever wrote so much that I'm going to take the laptop out. It was behind the camera before, and I was reading from there. But for this, I'm going to have it real up close because I have to scroll a lot. So let's begin. By Toon Squad Forever. Maybe someone can relate to me on this one. You go to practice and fence maybe 10 hours a week, more if possible. Add on about twice that in conditioning and lessons. You work really hard, but you don't feel yourself improve. You feel down about it. Maybe you want to quit. So after a particularly unpleasant practice bout, you head to the nearest wall, sit down, you might as well be resting, but something about your posture tips off your friend. They come to see you, open their mouths as if they're about to say something, but stop themselves. No need. They already know what's wrong and where your mind has gone towards. They've been there before, and they'll be there again. Instead, they just tap you on the shoulder and say, "Let's go for drinks later." You smile and keep fencing. At some point, your consistent hard work and good friend group helps you get past a very tall wall as if it had never been there, and it feels so natural you barely acknowledge it as an accomplishment. Maybe I'm just lucky today, you tell yourself. Throughout all this, you keep fencing. Bouts, lessons, footwork, conditioning. You do it all without stopping. It's more than just something you do to get better. It's something you do for yourself. You go to a tournament and fence like you've never have before. You are out of breath. The mask feels hard to breathe in, and your legs want to give out on you. All the ideas of fancy moves you wanted to try out are thrown out the window. Indeed, you can't think about much of anything at all. You are vaguely aware of your own breath and of the opponent in front of you and of your cheering teammates behind you. It's the anchor bout, and it's 44-44. Your body moves as if it was born and forged for that one moment, and you land a move you've practiced 1,000 times. You turn around, pulling off your mask, and let out a scream that relieves you of not just the tension of this tournament, but of the tournaments when you didn't do so well, of the practices you felt like shit. You feel like you can breathe again, even though you're still exhausted. The bright lights ever present in the smallest of gyms, burn against your eyes, but they can't stop you from looking up, smiling, and each breath feeling like a victory in itself. And you find yourself thinking, ah, ah, how many thousands of hours did I practice just for this one moment? You shake hands with your opponent, thank the ref, and walk up to your teammates to be hugged, high-fived, and promised drinks later at a questionable pub in town none of you quite know and would never have visited if not for fencing. That's accurate. That's really accurate. In the end, you're in pain, sweaty, tired, and you've gained no money or fame, fencing in a nutshell. But you smile with your friends and think, I love this sport, and get excited to do it all over again. Or maybe that's just me, and I'm a weirdo. That's fine if that's the case. I fence because getting to feel like that once in a while, even if it's only once in a few years, there's nothing like it. It's a form of satisfaction and friendship that I could never enjoy in my life if I didn't fence, and I'm willing to put aside a lot of things for its sake. I'm also slightly high right now. It bears mentioning. Thank you, Toon Squad Forever. I don't know if there's anything I can say about that to make it more perfect than it already is. But that is the fencing experience. It's going to practice, having good days, having bad days, sometimes feeling like crap, sometimes feeling like you're on top of the world, and slowly building up your skill set. And then the tournament where it all works out is the one you remember, and the reason why you keep going to other tournaments, even though they don't go well, or like you're disappointed with yourself, you still remember that one where it went well, and you're looking for the next, for lack of a better word, high. And I'm really happy that he was able to put that into a story for us, and anybody who read it and now hears it. Thank you, Toon Squad Forever, and thank you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. This channel is going to be mostly about fencing and all things swords and all things combat. I thought it'd be appropriate to post the first video on World Fencing Day because this sport is the reason why this channel is going to exist and the reason why I do what I do. So I hope you enjoyed it, and until next time.